Members of the jury, you have heard all of the evidence.
The jury has the case in the sentencing trial of the Parkland shooter.
It is now your duty to make a decision as to the appropriate sentence that should be imposed upon Nikolas Jacob Cruz.
Now we wait for the verdict. Will the jury decide life in prison or recommend death? We are officially on verdict watch. The jury had a couple of questions today shortly after the deliberations began.
CBS 4's Joan Murray has been following this case since the trial began. She joins us live from the Broward Courthouse with more on what happened today. Joan.
Well, deliberations, the jury has been at it now a little more than 6 hours, and it's clear that mental health was part of their early, I guess, questions, you might say, or deliberations, because they came back with questions related to that. One, they wanted a manual that dealt with mental health disorders, and also they wanted CDC guidelines for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. That is what the defense has alleged that the defendant suffers from. The judge said no, because neither of those were part of the testimony. They also wanted to hear from 2 mental health experts, and that's finally what they got.
You must first unanimously determine whether the aggravating factor or factors alleged by the state have been proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Instructions in hand, the jury began deliberating whether the Parkland shooter should live or die for carrying out the deadly school massacre that took 17 lives. But less than 2 hours later, they had several questions.
It would be my perception that they're confusing deposition transcript with trial transcript.
The jury wanted to hear parts of the testimony of key defense expert Dr. Paul Connor, who testified that the shooter's birth mother's alcohol abuse led to severe impairment that he could not escape.
Attention, hyperactivity, kind of your classic ADHD sorts of behaviors, social skills, then again, language, memory, things like that.
And initially, they wanted to review the testimony of key prosecution expert Dr. Robert Denny, who refuted Connor's findings.
He's grossly exaggerating very severe psychiatric problems, as well as somatic concerns, body concerns, cognitive concerns, and memory complaints.
After clarification from the jury, the court reporter began reading back just cross-examination prosecutors did on defense witness Dr. Paul Connor.
What percentage of the 5 hours did you do interviewing? Answer, that's usually about 1 hour.
After hearing that, the jury said they did not need to hear from prosecution expert Dr. Robert Denny and went back to deliberating.
Now, that jury is comprised of 12 individuals. They must be unanimous on the decision of life or death. It's 7 men, 5 women. They are of all different ages. Again, they have been deliberating a little more than 6 hours. We'll have an update coming up at 6 o'clock. Reporting at the Broward Courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, Joan Murray, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Joan. And this sentencing trial has been going on for months. Any moment, jurors could make their decision. Let's take a look back at some key dates. In March of 2018, prosecutors recommended the death penalty. October 2021, the Parkland shooter pleaded guilty to the charges. Fast forward to July of this year, and that's when prosecutors and the defense began opening statements and the court listened to testimony. Weeks later, jurors toured Stoneman Douglas High, and then prosecutors rested their case. Then the defense got their turn to make their case, and that brings us to this week. Tuesday, they completed closing arguments, and today, jurors began deliberations.